Well, it looks like it's that time again. We got to answer 5 more questions about the X-Men Cinematic Universe timeline, starting with... Alright, so in X3 we see that Worthington Labs develops a cure for the mutant X gene.
Finally, we have a cure.
A lot of characters end up getting cured and they lose their powers, including Magneto. But in Days of Future Past, we see Magneto still able to move metal and destroy a lot of stuff and build a door, etc., etc. So how does he get his powers back? They never explain that. Well, actually they do at the end of X3. You see, we know the cure is only temporary. At the end of X3, you can see Magneto kinda sorta moving around a metal chess piece. Here, look, I'll even loop it for you so you can see. It's barely noticeable, but if you look at the top, you can kinda see the piece moving around. Further proof of this can be found in Rogue. You see, in the extended cut of Days of Future Past, you can see all the extra scenes that have her in it, and she still has her powers, further proving that the cure is only temporary. Next. Alright, so a lot of hardcore comic fans have been really confused about this one. And here's why. You see, Nightcrawler in the comics is the son of Mystique and Azazel. However, we never actually see the two of them doing anything or having any kind of relationship. So is he still their kid? It's a little hard to tell, but I'm gonna say no. And here's why. First, even across 2 timelines, Mystique never gives any indication that Nightcrawler is her son, despite having multiple chances to do so. And also, she kinda acts a little flirty with him in X2 and gets this weird look from him. So if he was her son, this would be a little bit creepy. And also, the non-canon X-Men Origins video game implies that John Wraith is actually Nightcrawler's father.
You be careful, Miss Darkholme. That's my son you're carrying in there.
Even though this game is strictly non-canon, this does kind of further the idea that it was never the intention to make Azazel Nightcrawler's father in the first place. So, based on all the stuff we have on hand, I'm gonna have to say no, Nightcrawler is not the son of Azazel and Mystique. He just happens to look like the both of them. Next. Alright, so this is one I've been getting asked a lot about in the comments in my other videos, and surprisingly, this has a very simple answer. Alright, so in Days of Future Past, when Wolverine, Beast, and Xavier are planning out how they're going to break Magneto out of his Pentagon prison, Wolverine mentions that he knows somebody from the past, meaning Quicksilver. But he also kind of implies that they were friends at some point. When did Wolverine ever meet Quicksilver? We never see this happen. Except, actually, yes we do, in X-Men Origins. You see, towards the end of the movie, when Wolverine finds the cages full of mutants being experimented on by Stryker, we actually see a guy similar to Quicksilver in this cage right here. What kind of relationship they had afterwards, it's up for debate, but we do know that Wolverine first met Quicksilver in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Next. Alright, so this next one's a little minor, but it still kind of bugged me when I first saw it, so I felt like I had to answer it. Alright, so in the first X-Men movie, we can see that Rogue gets the white stripe in her hair after using Magneto's machine. However, after Wolverine changes the timeline in Days of Future Past, we can see that Rogue still has the white stripe in her hair. So what happens to Rogue, and why does she still have that stripe in her hair? Well, remember what Beast said about timeline changes?
Now, there's a theory in quantum physics that time is immutable. It's like a river. You can throw a pebble into it, create a ripple, but the current always corrects itself.
Now, is any of that true? Well, kind of. You can kind of see this in X-Men Apocalypse with Wolverine ending up back in the hands of the real William Stryker and getting his bones coated in adamantium the same way he got them in the original timeline. Now, it's possible because the time is always trying to correct itself and going back to this right point. It's possible that Magneto becomes an enemy of the X-Men again and maybe tries the same plan he used in X-Men or some other type of plan. Either way, I think it's just another example of Beast's timeline theory. Next. Alright, and this has been one of the biggest questions about Days of Future Past. How does Mystique improve the Sentinels to the degree they're at in the future?
In her DNA, they discovered the secrets to her powers of transformation. It gave them the key they needed to create weapons that could adapt to any mutant power.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, because Mystique never shows any indication that she can copy other mutants' powers, just their appearances. Yeah, she kind of does something with Wolverine's claws, but they could just be her natural bone. She never shows anything like she could shoot optic blasts like Cyclops or manipulate things with her mind like Jean Grey. So how does this part work? Well, remember, she's not the only one being experimented on. In the extended cut of Days of Future Past, we hear Bobby specifically mention that Trask Industries has a hold of Rogue and is experimenting on her to use her powers.
She's in your house, Professor. They're experimenting on her, trying to tap into her power so they can take ours.
And yeah, we see the Sentinels shape-shifting around, and we can see them do some kind of T-1000 style shape-shifting, turning their arms into blades and other kind of stabbing weapons. But the powers and the power mimicry, that's more from Rogue and experimenting on her genes. So just to sum it up, it's a combination of Mystique's genes, Rogue's genes, and experimentation from Trask Industries to get the Sentinels to the degree we see in the film. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button, click that subscribe, maybe leave me a comment while you're at it. And also, don't forget to check out my social media pages. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. All the links are in the description below. And also, don't forget to check out my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, I will see you all next time.